Are we still recording?
I already know his answer. I already know.
You don't know his answer.
Watch.
It's contentious, but you don't know. So this one is In-N-Out or Whataburger.
Dang.
Welcome to the Wrong NDN Podcast.
Native Americans of all trades, masters of none.
What does that mean? Oh, we have a lot to say. We are not the experts.
But we talk to the experts on a variety of issues.
I'm Brittany Schulman.
Kenrick Stallion.
This is the
Wrong NDN Podcast.
Welcome back to the Wrong NDN Podcast. I'm Brittany Schulman. This is season 2, episode 2, and I'm very happy to be here. And who are you?
I'm Kenrick Escalante. And if you like what you've been hearing so far with the Wrong NDN Podcast, please subscribe and rate our show. It really helps us get our viewership out there. So wherever you're listening to us now or watching us, subscribe and rate us at the Wrong NDN Podcast.
5 stars is best.
Yay.
And we appreciate every single star. We appreciate 5 better. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to the channel.
One star.
So you get notified. We put episodes out every Monday. So we want to make sure that you are able to get it as soon as it pops up.
I mean, look, I appreciate the 1 star. Am I questioning it? Maybe.
If you're going to give us 1 star, leave a comment too. We would love to improve. If you love us, if you hate us,
if you just don't know,
if you're just indifferent, if you're just indifferent, then maybe you could have that philosophical indifferent conversation in the comments below. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. So we have our new segment, which is What Are You Watching? Because apparently we watch a lot of visual media. So what have you been watching, Kenrick?
Honestly, this past week has been pretty boring for me work-wise. My head down, just doing a lot of work. But I can continue to watch Schitt's Creek. I'm now in season 5. Wrapping that up, and I'm happy to report that probably this weekend I'll finish it all up in season 6. It's a great show if you're not familiar with it. It's about the Rose family. They were a predominant rich family who lost everything, and now they're living in a small town community trying to make do. It's just the most hilarious show ever. If you like the show, leave me some comments so that we can chat about it. I just think it's hilarious. But other than that, I've been kind of just going back and watching things, catching up on things that I missed in certain seasons. Like I completed Legend of Korra. We talked about that at length before, but when we did talk about it, I didn't complete it. And so now it's complete. And I will tell you, I have mixed emotions. I'll tell you, I mean, look, I watched it.
Spoilers for anyone who has not finished Legend of Korra.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I mean,
we're going to spoil it now. Because I was trying to spoil it before and I realized he hadn't finished. So go. What are your thoughts?
Okay, so I went into the series knowing that people were mixed, right? And I chose not to look into why. I was just like, nope, I'm out of sight, out of mind. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just going to watch it. And then I have my daughter who was texting me about the show, and she was just like, you're not going to like this. You're not going to like, I was like, chill out. Let me watch it. So I'm watching it. I love the new characters. I love the callback to Avatar. I love the whole arc of Aang's family and, Korra's family and, how they brought in brand new characters. It was funny. It was hilarious. But then the end
let you down.
Okay, I'm not going to say the ending let me down. It just seemed like, okay, let's go all the way back. Let's go all the way back to Avatar, right? When you watched Avatar, one could argue that the last episode was like the big cliffhanger, like we need more, right? But I think they did it so well that you didn't feel like they left you nothing to resonate with. Like I left Avatar like, man, they closed that so amazingly. Now I'm yearning for the next chapter of it. Where in Korra, that last episode felt like they were like, well, guys, we're contracted for one more episode. How do we close this? And they just jammed everything they could.
Did you watch Game of Thrones?
No. But I did read about the Starbucks incident.
Okay. I don't know that we can be friends anymore. That's my jam. Fantasy. That kind of thing's my jam. But it reminded me, because when I went back and rewatched Legend of Korra, it reminded me of how Game of Thrones, also spoilers, kind of, you get to this, because you got to remember, Avatar had you had one enemy, and that one enemy was the Fire Nation, specifically Lord Ozai. Specifically him. And the whole arc is going again. You have this one storyline. I mean, even though there's all these other little things, but you have this very overarching one thing happening. And
there's
Korra,
one big bad.
One big baddie.
Yeah.
And Korra, every single season, she has a new baddie with a different story, with a complex. I mean, there wasn't the cohesion of story that Avatar had, and I still very much appreciated and loved it, even though it's not the same. If you went in Legend of Korra thinking you were going to get more of the same, it's definitely a different story, and it very much parallels the Avatars. You have Avatar Aang, who is the opposite of Korra.
Right.
Legend of Korra is the opposite of The Last Airbender.
I mean, and as an adult, you look into these things and you realize that, Avatar, the showrunners of that show, was able to complete their vision. Where from what and I could be wrong, but from what I've read into it is that with Korra, their showrunners didn't get to do that. In fact, it was one of those things where they like promised, like, we will give you a solid season and maybe there'll be a season 2 that will complete the story. But then Nickelodeon or whoever was like, no, we need, 4 seasons. We want these extra seasons and we need you to touch these bases. So they ended up having just to create something out of nothing.
Yeah, it
was like watching Star Wars all over again.
Kind of like Game of Thrones too, is that, okay, we had all the material up until they ran out of George R.R.'s
all those are all of them.
And they ran out of his material, and then they this is the end. How do we get to the end? And the arcs of the characters didn't make sense anymore. The reactions to things didn't make sense anymore. Right. And then the whole Jon Snow thing was like they build him up, and it's just nothing.
Yeah, nothing. It's getting to the finish line. And for me, with Korra, they raced to that finish line, and then it was just like, really? Like, that's how it ends? And, I don't know. I just wasn't excited. I mean, it almost felt like, okay, and I'm probably dating myself, but like I watched the Seinfeld final episode, the series finale of Seinfeld. And when I was watching it then, I was just like,
is that it?
What? Like, what? It's and it goes back to like even like the Sopranos, right? Like their last episode. I was like, what? Really? But what it? But in hindsight, you realize like there was a purpose for it. But yeah, that's what I've been watching. I was getting back and watching Korra, getting upset with that, and then I'm watching Schitt's Creek. But I'll tell you what, guys, I don't know too much about it yet, but I plan to deep dive in it. Like Schitt's Creek, it was developed by the CBC, which is a Canadian network. The CBC has another show coming up, and it's called Trickster. And it's an all Indigenous cast, and it looks amazing. It really, truly does look amazing.
I'm really interested. Do we have any insights on what the plot is other than a trickster? I mean, I don't need anything other than that, but
Well, I mean, it's
I might
about
know something more than that.
it's about an indigenous teen struggling to keep his dysfunctional family above water.
Oh, you mean reality? This is a reality show. Okay.
Yeah, and it kind of is. It kind of is. I mean, because look, I watched the trailer for it, and you're like, just all of a sudden, you're in this deep dive of like, I was picturing it like totally on my res and like going to school during my time back at my res, and I was just like, I get this, like I feel it, So the character development and how they portrayed it, and just in that trailer was really awesome. And so like I want to find a way that I can watch it. If anyone's listening and you guys know how someone like me in America can watch this show now instead of waiting for it to go on Netflix or something, let me know, because I'm the
I'm
wrong
sure there's a
Indian.
YouTube bootleg happening as we speak. um, I'm really excited for that, and I am currently watching The Masked Singer. I've only got episode 3 so far. I know that there are still another group of singers that are coming up that I haven't seen yet. This is a show I watch with my kids because they like music, and so they end up dancing around, even if they're really sucky singers like Busta Rhymes, who was revealed the first episode.
How many seasons are they in?
4. They've got 4 seasons.
Okay, all right.
So this is season 4, and it always amazes. It always amazes me that I go into it going, there's folks that I don't know that you see their face and you go, oh, that's who you are. Like the one I watched last night, it was Brian Austin Green. And I'm like, yeah. Well, I was like, I don't know you. And then I was like, oh, you're the 90210 guy. Okay, now I know who you are. Mickey Rourke was the same way. I was like, who is this? Who?
You know Mickey Rourke? Come on now. Come on.
I don't know names. I'm going to be real honest. I know faces, but that's why.
Well, you can't.
That's why we say baby, honey, shug, darling, Kool-Aid. We have a pet name because we don't know names. I don't know names. So I had to actually Google their name.
Mickey Rourke's defense, he's had multiple faces. So, I mean.
That was also I very much feel that. But so far, I am rooting for it's either going to be Sun, Serpent, or Seahorse. I don't know why they're all S's. But Serpent, I really think when I was listening to his voice, I was like, I know this voice. And I think he's Leslie Odom Jr., which was the guy, if you watched Hamilton, he's not Hamilton, Aaron Burr. That's it. See?
Yeah. That guy's pretty talented. So is he rap? Is that character on The Mask? Is he rapping or is he just singing?
Oh, he sang 500 miles. I will walk 500. He sang that, but he turned it into an R&B smooth, and it was beautiful. I was like, yeah. I mean, he reworked the song for his voice and for his style, and I was like, and his little arms move in the background. Their costumes are amazing. They're so amazing. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's one thing I have noticed about that show. So like that show and like Game of Thrones, the problem with it is that I always miss it like when they begin. So like I never want to like go midway through and like ruin the season. So that's why I haven't watched it, and that's why I haven't watched Game of Thrones either, because like I missed that first season, and I was like, nope, I have to go back. And by the time I was going back, it was already like season 6, and I'm like, what? So
yeah, I am the queen of starting something in the middle or getting into it after it is over. That's how I found Masked Singer. It wasn't that I was watching it from the beginning. It was that, let's look at this thing now.
Right.
And then went back and watched the other seasons. But I am the queen of that. I'm also the queen of spoilers because I like knowing what's going to happen. And for me, it doesn't spoil. The reveals don't spoil the endings. I know that's weird.
See, you're just like my wife. I hate that. No, look, I'm sorry. I don't like going to movie theaters. And like I pin it every time. We're sitting there, got the popcorn, got the soda, and then I'll just glare to my right. What
on
do
her
I?
phone.
Oh yeah, she's on her phone and she's reading the damn synopsis of the whole entire movie.
Yes, she is my kind of people.
I can't stand it. I'm a movie buff, and especially during like when we're watching like the MCU, right? We're watching Marvel movies.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I want to enjoy this ride. It goes back to those people who are like those M. Night Shyamalan folks who try to like, oh, I already knew the ending the moment I walked in. You did not, you liar. You did not know Bruce Willis was dead. Don't you lie to me. Yes,
I didn't know Bruce Willis was dead, but I do enjoy that. I enjoy going through, like we were watching Breaking Bad. We got into that after it had been out a while, and I enjoyed it because I live in Albuquerque. So I was like, I know that. That's my washerette. Literally, that's how I was going through Breaking Bad, and towards the end, because we were back watching it. We're watching it while after this episodes had already come out. Yeah, I'm Googling it and going, okay, what happened here? All right, that makes sense. Okay. And I still enjoy what I'm watching though. I have a friend that's her pet peeve too. She's like, why?
Yeah.
That's wrong.
I mean, that goes back to the whole Legend of Korra thing. Like, I refuse to look at the ending. And like, my wife already knew. In fact, because she knew, she tried to trick me and she tried to be like, oh, so did Korra die yet? And I'm just like,
rude. I love that.
Yeah, I was just like, I'm not even, I'm not. I won't with you. And because of that, I feel like you ruined your own spoiler because now I know she's not going to die. And in the back of my head, I was like, fuck, is she going to die? Oh, did I? Who knows what we do here at the Wrong NDN Podcast, but.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
So, you know what else I watched? The vice presidential debate. I live tweeted it and I had so much fun. One of my friends who is a little further left than me, which I didn't think was possible. I kept tagging her in the post because it was amazing.
It was quite the thing to watch.
It got a little boring, and because it was such a choreographed tango, the presidential debate was a drunken bar fight, which is how I felt it kind of came off. This one was like watching ballroom dancing. Have you ever watched like real, not Dancing with the Stars ballroom dancing, but like legit ballroom dancing where it's, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, that very structured.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what it was for me. And so it gets a little boring because they're not doing the tricks and the flips and all that. However, one rose above all others.
A guest, maybe?
I don't know if he was a guest, but he definitely landed on my heart as well as Mike Spitz's head. The fly. Oh my gosh, this fly, which now in full disclosure, while that part of the debate was happening, I was cleaning the kitchen. So I had the TV on, but I was listening and tweeting. And I heard systemic racism is not a thing in America. I literally came round the corner from the kitchen to the living room going, what? Fly landed. It was on his head. I was like, oh, okay. He knows poop. That was definitely poop.
When I'm watching it and I watched it land and, the vice president has such a, predominant white coat of hair. And so seeing this black fly land on top of him, and it was so like, there it is. And it wouldn't leave. It was just stuck with, maybe it got stuck by hairspray. Who knows? But it was there and it wouldn't leave. And in my head, I was just like, yeah, this is hitting Twitter. I already know.
He hit Twitter and then he had an account and then he had more followers than me. It was hilarious. Right?
Yeah.
And I followed him.
Damn fly has more followers than this podcast. And that's just ridiculous.
It is hilarious. I very much appreciated that. But I can tell you that both of them are very skilled. However, the level of restraint Miss Harris had, because as a woman of color, and as a woman in leadership positions, I've been there where they want to call you on something. You're like, look here, friend. What you're not going to do today is tell me what I know when I already know I know more than you, especially on this. And I've been her in that situation. I think a lot of women have been her. I mean, her, and I really, really appreciate it as someone who has no control over their face. Whatever I'm thinking comes on my face without any opportunity for me to think about changing it. You could see it all over her face. Like, please. I was going to say some choice words, but I'll just keep that to myself.
Exactly. I mean, watching the debate, most of it for me was watching the expressions from her face. I loved that. I'm not going to say she completely shut him down, but I did love her empowerment and dominance, and basically standing her ground and saying, "Mr. Vice President, I'm speaking," and because he wanted to interrupt her a lot.
He did interrupt her a lot.
It could have been a lot worse. And
it was almost. I mean, it's like the Wrong NDN Podcast. Almost every chance that was there, he interrupted her, and I was annoyed with the moderator because all she would do was like, "Thank you, Mr. Vice President." I was like, "Come on now! I mean, you see this is happening," and then the 1 or 2 times that Kamala did it. It became, can you not go over your time? It's like, he just took 35 seconds of her time and you're not even going to let her finish her statement? I was like, that is so rude.
What I didn't like, and I don't think I've ever seen this like as much as I did during this debate, was like what he would do is that he wasn't able to finish his answer. So he would wait for the next question and then he would go back to the other question so that he could finish it. And that would completely throw off the time. And I was just like, this dude.
Both of them were very skilled at answering the question or directing the conversation where they wanted it to go.
Absolutely.
That's why I said it was a sophisticated tango. Both of them were, and he wasn't just leading. I mean, it was very much this is my narrative, these are my points, and this is what I'm going to say. It matters not the questions.
Right. I mean, I think,
and the only really thoughtful question that was asked was by the 12-year-old at the end, because all the other questions we got from the president debate. Right.
I mean, I think we all can agree that the first presidential debate was a wagon on fire. And this debate.
Is there a reason you picked wagon? Is there a reason why you're referring to wagon burning? Can we unpack this? Oh, go ahead.
People on YouTube can see my face. I'm just like, no, look.
I'm sorry, I cracked myself up. Go ahead.
No, like we said, the president debate was just a mess, right? And so we needed something, more adult, more grown up, more in line in what we think a debate should look like. And this debate was close enough for me. It could go both ways. I mean, for me, what I needed to see is Miss Harris present herself presidential, and I thought she did. And then what I expected from the vice president was that, he was going to try to stay on course with his administration, but he wasn't going to try to defend the president all night. And I think he attempted that, but I think at the end of the day, he still ended up just trying to defend the president. And so, you guys, make your own decision on how that went. But for me, I mean, that debate was 50-50 for me. Like I said, since the presidential debate, my mind was made up. So I know where I'm going.
I don't think either debate has moved the needle on. I don't think, I also don't think there are any undecided voters. I think people are very decided.
No, now listen. I think that first presidential debate, whoever was undecided, I think it did move the needle. I think it really. I think so. Especially
I think where I come from, that they already wanted. That's what.
I mean, look, the state I come from, Arizona. I mean, which is a dominant red state that is turning blue. It's kind of purple. It's purpling up. Watching that first presidential debate made people go,
Yeah. Well, what really struck me also was at the very beginning of the debate when they had the whole conversation of they both agreed to this and they won't be interrupting each other. And we're going to have a civil debate so that we can have civil blah. I was like,
that didn't work out.
Well, first of all, I was like, is this, well, they won't play right. So we're going to get you guys to play right. And I do that with my kids a lot. You know, like, guys, we're gonna play right. And sometimes I find that when they're trying to play right, when they're most grumpy, mostly is because they haven't eaten. And one of the things they love to eat is Magic Spoon. Magic Spoon.
Plug time.
Is a cereal that gives you all the flavors and nostalgia of childhood without the guilt. It's grain-free, gluten-free, low-carb, high protein, and 0 grams of sugar per serving. And it's good. It's legit good. They have all the flavors. It's fruity, frosted, cocoa, and blueberry in that variety box. So I'm highly suggesting get that variety box. Because it is amazing. And you get all those flavors. My kids love fruity. In fact, they request it, and I feel okay giving it to them. I feel really good giving it to them because I know that they're not just eating a bowl of sugar. If this sounds good to you, if this is something that you're on board with, listeners of the podcast will get free shipping. And if you are on YouTube, you can see the box. Look at those numbers on the side. 11 grams of protein. Delicious. So all you have to do is go to magicspoon.com and enter our promo code Wrong NDN Podcast to get free shipping. Free shipping. So that is magicspoon.com, promo code Wrong, the letters NDN, word podcast. Make sure that you go check it out. Supporting our sponsors also supports us. Thank you so much, Magic Spoon.
It's just delicious, people. That's all I can say. It's just delicious. I like the idea that I can eat a bowl of cereal and not feel bloated. You know?
You know who else is delicious? That would be Megan the Stallion.
I didn't say it. I didn't say it.
Well, and I say this if you're familiar with Megan's work, her body of work. Meg with the good knees is actually,
I am familiar with her body of work.
Now, see, when you say it, it moves into creeper mode.
Well, it's because I purposely paused.
Creeper mode. She is actually, so, you know, everyone has kind of given people grief. At least I've seen a lot of it where people are giving her and Cardi B grief about, you know, living their life and making the money that they want to make, utilizing their sexuality. And I'm for it. But she's actually giving out, because we forget, Meg is still a college student. She is finishing up her degree, and she is now providing a scholarship, two $10,000 scholarships. So I really appreciate and applaud that giving back. I went and applied for it, and I suggest, you know, if you need some funds for school, this is one of the easiest applications you can do. Go to Instagram, click her link in bio, fill out the questions. There's a little essay. Do the thing.
I mean, all you have to do is submit a WAP video, and you're in.
Yeah, my knees I ain't got the knees for the WAP. But no, I think that we need more of those positive things out in the world, and really understanding how people do give back, because people are giving back all the time, and we should applaud them for it. And I am applauding Megan the Stallion for giving back.
Like we were talking off air, I mean, I love when people who can do, and you know, it could be said that, you know, a lot of people do without the recognition. But someone like Megan, not Meg, or Meg, the Stallion.
No, Meg the Stallion. Meg with the good knees.
When you see someone like her stepping up and giving away two, not just one would have been great. In fact, I thought she was only giving away one, but if she truly is giving away two $10,000 scholarships, ups on her. I mean, that's
game-changing money. That's game-changing money, and grad school is not cheap.
No, not at all.
Anyway.
You know, it's also crazy in the world that we live in. It's the ongoing world of COVID, and how in our last episode we brought up that we found out that the Trumpster, our president, our commander in chief, tested positive for COVID-19. And so I live in the DMV. I live in the area. And so where he was admitted to was Walter Reid. And so I literally drove down and saw the chaos of him going to Walter Reid. And initially when I heard about it, I'm like, okay, well, this is serious. This is some serious stuff. He's really in there. And I hope him and the first lady get better. And the world is seeing how serious it is now. But then
apparently got better.
Yeah, well, then 72 hours later, or less, really, we get word that he's gonna leave Walter Reid, and he went back to the White House. Keep in mind, within those 72 hours, he also left the hospital to get into a vehicle just so he could say hi to his supporters out on the front gate. This is an individual who was positive for COVID-19, who got in a closed vehicle that's completely armored and closed, which means it's basically a hot box full of Secret Service. So those men and women had to put their lives in danger and sit in a car just so that he can go wave at people in front of Walter Reid.
Knowing what we know about COVID, knowing that it's airborne, knowing that close proximity helps spread it, knowing all of that, I just think it's so criminal. If I was a Secret Service person, this is their job, but I would definitely look into endangerment, because you are endangering the people around you. Him going back to the White, we don't realize how many people are in the White House. It's not just the president hanging out there, and it's not the folks just coming in and out. I mean, you have groundskeepers, you have the cooks, the chefs, you have all the people who keep it clean.
Don't forget the tourists who come to visit the White House.
I didn't even think about the tourists. I was just the folks who are working there, and you're putting people who are working. I mean, if you're a tourist, you're making the choice to go there, and I wouldn't make the choice to go there right now.
Right now.
But you're working there. This is your job. You are now being endangered in doing your work by your boss.
I mean, but what do we know? What facts do we know? We know that right now, that White House has 34 positive cases. And I mean, it's probably grown since the last time the fact that I'm saying it right now.
Well, we know. We also know that many of the Rose Garden attendees tested positive. We do also know that Mr. Lindsey Graham.
There was a Rose Garden ceremony during COVID?
Oh, yeah. There's footage. You can deny all you want to. There's footage.
Wait, you're telling me there was a large group of people?
There's a large number of people who were not wearing masks or socially distancing. Go figure. But we also know that Mr. Lindsey Graham wouldn't go get a COVID test before his last debate here with Mr. Jamie Harrison. And the debate was canceled. Now, in that previous debate with Mr. Harrison, Mr. Graham didn't fare so well. And we also know that Mr. Graham's got a lot of important things coming up this week. So I wonder if his delay of getting a test is also allowing him to push some things forward, because I wouldn't put it past this crowd.
Are you insinuating that it's possible that maybe he's hiding the fact that he could be positive for COVID because he doesn't want to slow down a certain process that's going to be coming up this week?
Yes. Yeah, and I'm actually looking forward, and I hope that the Senate race in South Carolina moves towards Mr. Jamie Harrison. I watched him on The View yesterday. He's a really impressive young man, and to think that the state that seceded the Union over slavery, and let's not get it twisted, the Civil War was about slavery, and to think that the seat that Strom Thurmond, who was the longest held senator for a really long time, racist to his core, is that seat could be filled with 2 African American men. That's history in the making. He called it. I was about to call him Senator Harrison, future Senator Harrison. He called it the New South, and understanding that and being from the South myself, not South Carolina, because, I'm from North Carolina. North Carolina is better than South Carolina, but it's okay because South Carolina is better than Georgia.
Well,
it's just the way it rolls. And Georgia's better than Florida. I mean, that's just how it works. And but just to know,
these are the opinions of Brittany.
These are the opinions of the residents of those states. So,
absolutely, yeah.
But anyway, to think that is a shift that is happening really does my heart good. And I also recognize it. For me, it doesn't matter whether he's a Democrat or Republican. It's actually that the shift of power is moving, and we see it moving.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have any thoughts, ideas?
No, I mean, just the conversation about Lindsey Graham's just exhausting. So, I mean, it's like what my mother taught me. If you got nothing else good to say, just don't say anything.
Well, I'm gonna say it then. He's a liar, and the truth ain't in him.
I mean, I know it can be said about any politician, but I mean, if we're talking about this specific individual, I mean, just look back at the words he said just 4 years ago and what he's saying now. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, it's basically he's living a life where as long as it suits him, it's okay.
And that's what a lot of folks have said about his leadership, the shift of his leadership and where it's changed and moved to. Yeah, so that's just where we are in this life, I guess.
Yeah. And just yesterday, the newest thing we got in the news was that there was a plot to kidnap the Michigan governor and to take over the state.
They were. Let's just pause. I'm gasping for air here because let's just pause and talk about the facts of this case. You have this militia group of white supremacists who have decided and coordinated this surveilled her home in order to kidnap her so they could take her to Wisconsin and try her. I don't know what white supremacist trial they were going to have, but that's what they were doing. And I am literally shocked. And she says her words were that these folks are being stoked by the president and then they brought up his tweet from back in April when the governor had instituted a lot of the coronavirus, which quarantine measures, and they had some of the stricter measures. But let's be real clear. The federal government abdicated their responsibility and placed it back on the governor. So you can't both say it's the governor's responsibility. Governor, you're not doing it right, but you're not providing any leadership either. So they bring up that tweet, but they also bring up, the Proud Boys stand by, stand back. It annoys me when people say that this is the most racist president we've ever had, because that's simply not true. And it annoys me when people say that, oh my gosh, we didn't have this before. These folks have been there. That plot was not instituted overnight. That group was not sitting together. I mean, they were sitting together long before. The whole white supremacy militias, domestic terrorism has been here a while, since the very beginning, I would argue, of the founding of America. So,
yeah, I mean, look.
Yes. And did I say white supremacists enough? I'm going to say it again. White supremacists. YouTube, don't take us down, because this is the truth.
I'm just saying, do your homework. I mean, look at domestic terrorism and just research it. Research domestic terrorism and who, in majority, who's facilitating those acts of terrorism.
And then how are they covered? Because no one has called them white supremacists. They're a militia group. What does this militia group believe?
Look, all I know is if this was a Muslim group, that would be the headline.
Mm-hmm.
If this was a group from South America, that would be the headline. So,
yeah. Well, I mean, again, they took Dylan Roof to get a hamburger after he murdered people.
Yeah.
In cold blood. So this is the world we live in.
Yeah, I mean, we're in a world where if you're a certain color or a certain race of people, you don't get that. You don't get that burger. You get a knee to the neck. You get shot. You get murdered. You get broken into your house and shot at. That's what happens.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's frustrating, and I'm trying to really toe the line on what I'm trying to say, but do your homework, people. Do your homework. Look it up. As they say, get woke, and and realize what's in front of us.
And just do the homework, not just in the things that are happening now, but the things that have happened in the past. Because again, I want to reiterate, this isn't new. We are not seeing new waves of violence against people. We're not seeing new militia groups. This has been around. It has been around the whole entire time.
Right. And again, domestic terrorism is the most attacks that we've gotten in our lands comes from domestic terrorism, not from overseas.
Mm-hmm.
But it's funny that, sometimes during a political campaign or even during an administration's run, they like to really focus on that overseas terrorism and focus on those minority groups, when realistically, look what's right in front of us and look at the stats on it. It's overwhelming. So, man, that was a real Debbie Downer moment. I don't even know how we can.
Should we breathe through it?
I don't know. I kind of feel like we do. But the best way to breathe is also to work out. Yeah, that was a shameless transition for a plug, and I'm okay with it. This is definitely a good transition to bring up the fact that we have an amazing sponsor in FNXFit. FNXFit is committed to creating innovative supplements of the highest quality that provide focus for a productive morning, energy to thrive all day, performance supplements to reach your new goals, unique sleep and recovery formulas to support any sport, and healthy supplements to support an active lifestyle for years to come. If you're like us, your body craves movement. Yeah, I mean, I know I do. During like COVID, you're always constantly sitting in a desk all day or something. So you definitely want that mobility to go out, but you also want to be able to recover from those daily demands. And that's definitely something that FNXFit can do for you. Like myself, I've been using their creatine, and it's been great. I mean, for me, I'm all about how are my muscles going to recover from my daily workouts, and using the creatine, I feel stronger, I feel better, and more importantly, I feel like I can do it all over again the next day. So this creatine is the most effective supplement that I've used in a long time. And if you guys are interested in using the creatine or any other supplement that FNXFit has, you can get 15% off by using our promo code, which is Wrong NDN. So that's just the word wrong, the letters NDN at your checkout, which, by the way, if you're interested in FNXFit, you can go to FNXFit.com, use our promo code, and get yourself some strength. Get yourself some confidence, like Brittany Schulman over here working out every day.
Every day.
Are you guys even looking at it's Brittany Schulman Instagram? I mean, this girl's working.
The stories. Go to the stories. It's
My
great.
goodness.
And you can also catch me today because it's Indigenous Peoples Day. If you're in the Albuquerque area, we're actually going to be at Civic Plaza at 3 today. In part celebrating Indigenous Peoples Day, in part talking about the Tahajali water issue. So we have our folks in Tahajali, which is a chapter on the western side of Albuquerque, the eastern side of Navajo Nation. They need water, and their water sources that they have are just not good. And they've worked out a situation with the city in order to be able to have a pipeline of water head that direction. Our relatives need water. However, between here and there is a shareholder company, a developer company, and I forget they're like Western Albuquerque Holdings. I can't remember their name exactly. They're not even based in the United States, but they have been blocking that pipeline. I mean, and if there's any pipeline that natives want, it's a pipeline of water. #water is life. So we're going to be really talking about that at Civic Plaza today at 3 p.m. in Albuquerque. And you can really find out more about that issue. We want to make sure that our relatives have water. I mean, that's a basic. And it's a crying shame that in 2020, we have folks who don't have water.
It's going to be an ongoing fight. It just will be. You know, we both come from the desert, so we definitely know the appreciation for water. You know, and like yourself, you know, I am too rocking my my Indigenous apparel, which we should every day. But more importantly, like the one I'm rocking is, I don't know if you can see it here. Let me move my mic.
Move your mic. Show off that shirt. I love that. I really love the black on black. It's beautiful.
Oh yeah, I am wearing Urban Native Era's Indigenous Peoples Day is every day. And I believe.
So wait, do we call ourselves? We have Indigenous people. We call ourselves Wrong Indian. There's Native. There's American Indian, Alaska Native, Tribal, you specific tribe, First Nations. Can we agree that there's a term, or not agree that or agree that all the terms are okay? I was in a meeting, and I bring this up because I was in a meeting the other day, and we grappled with. Oh, so what are we calling ourselves? Are we calling ourselves Indian? Are we calling ourselves, it says American Indian, Alaska Native. Is that what we're sticking with? Should we say Indigenous? Are we going to be inclusive? How inclusive is that? Oh,
look,
what do you think?
I mean, the truth is we're just a collective body of Indigenous people. And, you know, I don't care if you want to call yourself potato. You know, whatever you feel comfortable doing. I mean, for me, you know, I'm Quetzal. You know, when people ask me what I am, I'm Quetzal. But that doesn't mean I don't recognize myself as an Indigenous person.
I was at the UN, and they had, when they were doing the Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, there was a literal whole day conversation about, is it Indigenous? Is that the word that we use? I was like, huh.
No, look, I get it. I mean, but at the end of the day, it's just for clarification or a classification, you know, that ends up being political, you know? So whatever fits the narrative, whatever, you know, because not only am I Quetzal, but, you know, I'm also a Chicano myself as well. So, you know, there's an ongoing debate on that too, you know. Are we Latin? Are we Latinx? Are we Latino? Are we Mexican? Are we Hispanic? Are we Chicano? What are we? You know what? And that's
Chicanx, yeah.
Look, and that's why at the end of the day, for me, and this is just me, I identify two ways. I identify that I am Quetzal, and I'm 100% Indigenous.
It's so fascinating, because most of our languages refer to most of our languages that refer to us, it's always referring to us as the people. Now those over there, they are not the people.
It's a special class of people.
No, we are the people. They are not the people. They're dog eaters or breadwinners or serpent lickers. I mean, there's whole lots of derogatory terms, which sometimes ended up as tribal names. But, you know, it's just it's fascinating. I just find the whole conversation interesting.
ultimately, like how anybody should, I just respect the idea of whatever you want me to call you, that's what I'll call you. So Indigenous Peoples Day, American Indian, Alaskan Native, Hawaiian, Polynesian, whatever you want to be called, I respect that. But more importantly, today you're listening to our episode. It is Indigenous Peoples Day. That movement is growing. We have 13 states who recognize it. We have over 130 cities.
Municipalities, yeah,
cities and towns that are following along. My own state of Arizona just announced it. That they will be recognizing Indigenous Peoples Day, and we need to keep that moving. We need to keep being progressive and saying, look, we're more than just the month of November.
What? Wait, are we getting November? Let's go back because we didn't get November last year.
Well,
it was American Heritage Month.
Let's just say for the past 3 years, we haven't had November. Our November got taken away.
Just like the land, dark humor. I'm just kidding. Yes.
Are you though? I mean, let's look at Land O'Lake. I mean, come on.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, they finally got rid of her, but they didn't give that land
did
back.
They? Yeah. Oh man, there was a whole debate and conversation around that, and a friend of mine actually did their dissertation on that image in particular and porn, and how there is a huge section of porn. We've moved into the non-kid friendly part of the show.
I don't know where this is going.
Where it's all about the butter maiden. So that particular stance that she sits in, there's butter pouring.
Yeah.
I was like, first of all,
where is our big censor X? We need a censor X right now.
First of all, that's a thing. I didn't know. I mean, I don't delve into those areas of the internets, so I don't know. And she said the professor who was looking at it, reading up on it, he said, I never looked at her the same. It was horrible. So we know that those images, I mean, even from our Throwback Thursday that we had, we know that those images seep into the consciousness of people and are part of the reason, we view ourselves the way we view ourselves, because what you see is part of how you take that in. It doesn't mean that that's end all be all, but that you do take that in as a person. And then it's also how other people view you and take that in. So yes, that imagery is definitely part of the murdered, missing Indigenous women and girls. It's definitely part of why that is a huge problem for us, and why that continues, and why, we have those conversations with my mom. And we were talking about this ahead of time, but my mom was very specifically, I guess, partly because she was a single mom, very much had conversations with us about, you can't take toys in a store. It doesn't matter if you have the tag. It doesn't matter if you have a receipt. If you have something and you bought it from a store, immediately put your receipt in it, tie the bag so that when you leave, no one's going to stop you. When you're leaving, if you're by yourself, when you're leaving, you put your keys, I don't have my keys, but you put your keys in your hand so that they're sticking out. So if you have to protect yourself, because someone's going to take you. If you are in the situation where someone's coming towards you, make sure that you're yelling out fire, because if you yell out rape, no one's coming. So we had all of those conversations as kids, and I'm starting to have, my daughter's 4. And I'm starting to have those conversations with her about, because Albuquerque is number 2, is the number 2 state, or New Mexico is the number 2 state and Albuquerque is number 1 city. I forget. We're competing with Seattle on the number of missing and murdered Indigenous women. And we know that data is incomplete. So yes, I have those conversations with my daughter. You hold my hand when we're going here. When we get to the store, you put your hand on the car and stay right here where I can see you. If you can't see me move in the park, move where you can see me, because I need to see you at all times. So I hate we have those conversations. I hate we have to have those conversations, but it's, again, part of the reality that we live in. And that, you talk about a downer. This has been a great episode. Man. We're so happy over here.
Well, one thing that will pick up our spirits is our next guest. And obviously, I mean, if you're watching this on YouTube, you're going to see the inconsistencies here. We actually did pre-record our interview with Joey Montoya of Urban Native Era. Great guest. He's amazing. He's going to talk about everything that is Urban Native Era. At the time, I did not have my shirt. I have it now.
Mine's coming probably today. I did check the mailbox. I was like, dog it.
Look, I even ordered my shoelaces that reminds everybody that you're on.
I got the socks.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're on native land. I got the black and the white shoelaces. I'm putting them on my my N7s, and yeah, oh yeah,
Native out on Indigenous Peoples Day. Let's do it.
Boom!
Oh my gosh, I could smell that over here. For those of you at home who did not see that, he just pulled his stinking shoe off. It's beautiful, though.
Smells like cedar and sage.
Yes, because that's the smell of Indigenous people, cedar and sage.
Oh yeah, that's my internal musk. With that, folks, with a hint of heat.
Mm-hmm. We're so excited to interview our next guest and to continue the series, How to Dress Like an Indian. Bye. Absolutely. Oh, don't forget, follow us. Got to do the plugs. Don't forget to follow us on social media. You can find us at Wrong NDN on all the platforms. You can also find us individually at It's Brittany Schulman or Clever Native if you're on the Twitters. I'm on the Twitters now.
And you can find me everywhere at KJ Escalante.
All right. Thank you guys so much. We appreciate you being here for this part, and you're so going to enjoy the next part.
We'll see you guys later. Welcome back to another segment of the Wrong NDN Podcast. I'm Kenrick Escalante.
And I'm Brittany Schulman.
And we'd like to welcome you back to our series, How to Dress Like an Indian, where we interview different Native brand owners about their business so that you can learn more about how they work and how you can dress like an Indian by supporting a Native-owned company. Today, we are interviewing Joey Montoya, the founder and CEO of Urban Native Era. For nearly 8 years, he has worked on using design to push for the visibility of Indigenous peoples. He is the founder and CEO of Urban Native Era, which specializes in clothing design and content creation. He is from San Francisco, and he holds a degree in advertising from San Jose State University. Welcome, Joey Montoya, to the show.
Woo!
How's it going?
Whoop, whoop. That's all I can do. That's my whoop. That's all I do.
That was like a pitiful Arsenio Hall woo. Also dating myself. But before we get into the interview, we just want to get to know you a little bit more. So we're going to play a game. The game is called This or That. So I'm going to give you 2 choices, and you let us know which you prefer and a little bit about why. Sound good?
Yeah, sounds good. Okay.
First one, dog or cat?
Dog. More of friendly and kind of need you to survive in some ways.
That's absolutely right. A cat will eat you alive if you die in your apartment. So yes, I think I'm with you there. So what about Netflix or YouTube?
Ooh, Netflix, but I've been getting into YouTube, but Netflix, a lot more of a big movies and streaming, like TV shows kind of guy. So I just got into YouTube just because my roommate is like a big YouTube person. So now I'm just like watching some YouTube videos every now and then.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. Pancakes or waffles?
Waffles.
Yes.
Waffles. I feel like they're a little bit less sweet depending on the waffle, but yeah, a little less sweet.
I think we had someone tell us that waffles were pancakes with abs. So there you go.
Yeah.
Would you prefer ability to fly or ability to read minds?
Ooh, hard one, but fly. I feel like I've always had these like flying dreams. So I'm like, I think I just want to like, plus just getting anywhere I can kind of just go.
I've had TSA.
You know, I wouldn't doubt if all of a sudden the world woke up and we had the ability to fly, someone would try to regulate it. Somebody would regulate it.
Yeah. Plus, I don't have to pay for flights. You know, I can just go wherever I need to go.
Absolutely.
So this next one that you're about to ask him, I'm just because I can see my notes. So there you go. But what you're about to ask him, it's like such a regional question. It's so funny. I already know his answer. I already know.
You don't know his answer. It's contentious, but you don't know. So this one is In-N-Out or Whataburger.
Dang, that's like a crazy one. I just had Whataburger for the first time.
Oh.
And I don't know if y'all know this, but HUD's my roommate and also working for the brand too. So HUD's actually a huge Whataburger fan. So first time I went he took me there. It's pretty good, but I'm gonna have to go with In-N-Out because
actually a betting man.
People will eat me alive out over here in California if I say anything. No, In-N-Out. It's
so where's HUD from?
HUD's from Oklahoma.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that that makes sense.
You asked that because we always have this thing, like he always like, oh yeah, Whataburger's like the best. And so I got to try it for the first time actually a couple months ago. So
yeah, it's very central. I mean, Texas on up, it's like
yeah. There's actually one in Arizona too. So we actually tried that just before I got to Texas and Oklahoma.
That's crazy. Mm-hmm. So before we get into Urban Native Era, because we really want to do a deep dive on that, but before we do that, like, tell us more about just you, like Joey.
Yeah. Well, so you already know I was born and raised in San Francisco, California, but I'm a Lipan Apache from Texas. But I grew up in San Francisco all my life, and then went to San Jose State to study advertising. I went in like not knowing really what I wanted to get into, like at all, and then I don't want to go dive into too much of the business right now. But my freshman year, I started Urban Native Era. So while I was doing college, I was like working on Urban Native Era, and that was just like a whole thing in itself. But I learned a little bit about designing, graphic design in high school, and my whole family is like I'm like always been surrounded by artists. My brothers are artists, and so that kind of just stuck to me. And like I took art classes while I was growing up, and that was kind of the base of it. But I really didn't. I was like testing out so many things, like what I really enjoyed and what I liked, and I got a little more into graphic design. And graphic design is nice because I can kind of do it wherever I want instead of like bringing a paintbrush and acrylic paint and like, I can't travel and really do that unless, you can, but it's just a little bit more challenging.
Right.
So so that's kind of how I got into like that art field. But yeah, I don't call myself an artist anymore, just more of just an entrepreneur, because I kind of, I'm always just trying to like see what else to create and what else that we can build. And Urban Native Era is like one of the main ones, but I'm definitely always looking out to see. I always have like really nice ideas, and I'm just trying to continue to kind of push it and see how that goes. Yeah, it's a little bit about me.
Right.
Also,
all right. So
on the beach too, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, because you're from San Francisco, right? Originally?
Yeah, originally, from San Francisco. So I always went to the beach. I love the water. Even down in LA, just love swimming and getting out in the water.
Yeah, I see that on your guys' social media. You're very active out there.
Yeah.
So now that, you told us a little about yourself, and you did mention that you started Urban Native Era when you were 18, correct?
Yeah, well, 19, but my
19.
freshman year.
All right, cool.
Still young.
First of all, why the title Urban Native Era? And then why did you start this business and how did it all start?
Yeah, so it was my freshman year, and I remember I kind of wanted to start something. I didn't know what it was, but I was like, I want to do something and just create an online page or whatever. And I was reading this book that talked about just urban natives, and I was like, oh, that's like what I am and kind of identify as well. And that name just stuck to me. And then towards the end of December, I started to see this movement called Idle No More. It's a movement that started in Canada.
Right.
And I was really like, that movement just really hit me, because I saw it and I was like, I want to tell like everybody, I want people to know what this is and what's happening. And I felt like, the friends that I was friends with and just people in general didn't know too much about Indigenous peoples and like some of our issues. So I don't know, for some reason that in December, like that just felt like a new era, kind of, so to speak, so I felt like that was just some shift was happening, and I wanted to, and I just felt like something new was happening, where just people were starting to wake up and really listen to Indigenous voices and really listen to Indigenous issues. So with that, Urban Native Era formed, but I also see it as like not only like for urban natives, and I think we've all been affected by this like urban native experience, or this urban native like city life. It's impacting our lives. So I think with that, it broadens out to like everybody in itself. But
yeah, we often say that there's always been this movement with natives back and forth, reservation, back to the cities, back, and there's always been that movement. And so being an urban native is just an experience. So you're just you just, that's been part of our history and part of our traditions the whole time. I just want to know a little bit more about urban natives' desire to operate in an Indigenous way. So, and the desire to bring about a better life for Indigenous people around the world. And what does that mean to you?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think first, like, just being in the city, we're so like, there's so much noise going on and around, like in the city. I feel like a lot more than other areas. And for us to stand out, and for me to stand out, that's where I guess the brand came in 2013, where I felt like a piece of clothing and art can always like say a lot more, and kind of just reach people that need to be reached without saying it. So yeah, just molding into that, and that's, yeah, like I said, the brand formed with that, and just using art and design and kind of just being visible and using that as like a visibility. And I always saw like art as this really powerful, and it can just reach a lot more people. That answers a little bit of the question.
Absolutely.
Well, for me, like one thing, and I actually saw this on your social media. I think it was like one of your stories. I was just like going through, and I noticed that someone asked you, can a non-native wear these clothes? And like you were like quickly, you're just like, no, this clothing's for everyone. And so I was kind of wondering, like, how do you bring that message forward? Like, how do you as a Native American business say, look, we're not, yes, we definitely represent who we are, but we're for everybody.
Yeah, it's actually interesting because I've been like trying to figure out like that overall, and we're working on like content to really push that, because we get like, that's not the first time someone's asked us that. It's it's like every day or every other day, and it gets to be a lot. So we're working on figuring out how we can push that. But I think it's also like what I learned. I have a friend who he's in this group called White People for Black Lives, and in that group, or he was explaining it where it's not the responsibility of like all Black people to tell, have that burden of like telling information and like responsibility of like all this information for all. So I kind of saw that and I was like, yeah, it's not our duty as like Native people to continue to share facts and information. So how can like we create a product that everyone can wear and that they can share what our message is and like really push what we're sharing and like other people to go find us. So like when people wear like a You're on Native Land cap, it's like they're doing it so that they can help kind of push that message as well in like a kind of a subtle design way, in like a fashion way. So that's how I kind of see it. And I hope moving forward, like we don't get all those questions all the time. That's something that it happens like, every day. And I'm always curious to see like, do other Native brands and Native owners like deal with the same thing where like they continue to ask the same question? So we're working on our end how we can communicate that without folks asking all the time. But
right.
Yeah.
I think that's, I'm sorry, Kenrick. I think that's, speaking as a former educator, I know that we have those moments where we're constantly having to unpack because people just don't know. So if we could maybe, and you're absolutely right, it's not the responsibility of the one Native person that you meet to be able to unpack it, but hopefully with formats like these podcasts that we're doing, hopefully with the integration of real history into our school system, not just the propaganda history, that maybe we can get to a place where that doesn't have to be unpacked every single time. And that, yes, every single person can dress like an Indian and I don't have it right now, but I'll have it. It'll say Indigenous Peoples Day.
Yeah. And that's like, I think that's like, I don't say it's a burden, but I think it's our responsibility that we want to be exclusive with what we make sometimes, because it's like, it's for us, by us type deal. But, we also need to like have that larger conversation, which is why we need to be inclusive and have everyone come into the circle, right? And be like, no. Like, wear this just like you would wear Nike, or wear this just like you would, put on any other, and just rep it. And, eventually urban native era will just be that native. Like it won't be like, oh, I'm wearing an Indigenous shirt, bro. Like it doesn't have to be anything like that. It's just like I'm just wearing.
But it's cool. I mean, it's really nifty and beautiful and cool. So why? Yes,
definitely, and that's why, like, even with like the, I've always tried to incorporate like stories behind designs or meanings behind the designs, and like even with the hummingbird, like there's nothing really like native about like the hummingbird, but just the story behind it and kind of where and how that resonates with a lot of Indigenous peoples and stuff like that. But so like sometimes people ask like, oh, can I wear this hummingbird? I'm like, yeah, like I don't know. It's I mean, You're on Native Land, I can kind of see it in some forms and ways, but our apparel is for everyone. So
cool. And it should be. I mean, why not? Another question I have for you is, what are some, I guess maybe what we were just talking about is one of them. What are some of the obstacles have you faced while operating Urban Native Era?
I think there's a lot of obstacles, and like just figuring out like just I majored in advertising. So like that was nice because I felt like I had the upper hand in just knowing like how to market and really what to push. But the business side has been like a kind of a learning thing for me, where I'm just like, like from the start, just learning as I go, and then now being able to bring in people to really help with the business side as well. But that's been a huge thing. On like other fronts, like there's always people who are gonna comment and like bash on designs or bash on whatever. So it's like, I think as like as a designer, you kind of get used to that and kind of just, and as it like happens every now and then, you kind of just like, okay, it's just what it is now, like people just doing that. But yeah, and then right now I feel like this COVID stuff has really been interesting to navigate overall. And we just moved from the Bay Area, where we originally were based out of, to Los Angeles. And that move overall was like moving just the warehouse stuff all the way down to Los Angeles. And prior to LA, we were just operating out of like 2 garages. And a friend of mine, he was shipping now, and now he's moved on to like customer service stuff. But just navigating that field of just like figuring out and like learning all these other aspects of just moving down, finding a warehouse, like and all that stuff has been interesting and kind of challenging in some fronts, but nothing too crazy. And I'm really glad this year is the first year we're bringing on more people, bringing on HUD, and then a few other folks to manage the warehouse and all that. So that's been like a huge plus, because I've been doing this for about almost 8 years now. So it's definitely taken a toll on just like, it's a lot of my, just a lot of me just like everywhere and just kind of pushing it. So it's kind of like nice to have all these other folks to really dive in and be excited to build this brand, for our community and continue to build overall.
What's crazy is that you mentioned COVID, and we were actually talking about that prior to getting on air. I was asking you how you were doing, and you brought up the idea that when you guys moved to LA, you were about to do this big LA event, and then COVID happened. And then you guys did an amazing job just like pivoting and being like, guess what, guys, we're going virtual, So, I mean, how was that experience? And then setting you up moving forward during this entire COVID pandemic?
Yeah, it was kind of wild because, for me, I think about like how much we invested with that event, and like not only time, but we reserved space. You see this backdrop over here that we got that's now in my room. So like a lot of things that we prepared for it, and we're really excited to really have this first event of ours, ever. And we're hearing like people wanting to come down from the Bay Area, people wanting to come from Arizona, like people are all like gonna travel to Los Angeles for this event. And then like as the dates kind of creeped up, we had to really just think about what is best for our community and like not to put anyone in harm. And we didn't know what was happening. And it wasn't for me personally, like I was like really bummed out, and HUD likes to look at the brighter side of things. And he's like, oh, let's turn it into like a whole online version of it. And he was stoked about it because he was like all about being on live for 7 hours straight. So he was really excited for it. And for me, kind of just to get the energy to do that was good at first. But when you get in towards the 6th or 7th hour, it's kind of like fading away from me. But yeah, just pivoting that shift and really like shifting to online. And then after that, revisiting with HUD to really see like, okay, like what do we need to do right now? And like, where do we need to shift? And that shift wasn't really too big because we were really, had a good traction online overall, just through social media. So, and most of our audience is online. I think we've done a really good job of building that the past 8 years. So that shift wasn't too bad, but it was like, how do we continue to, kind of share what we're doing and kind of like uplift folks as well? Because everyone's going through their own COVID experience. So like, how can we really just like be there for our community through online? So that was like the first initial event where folks were just tuning in, and kind of for the past, or those 2 months after, 2-3 months, we were just going live and like brought in guests just throughout our social media throughout those months after. But Yeah, it definitely set something. And biggest part of this, the biggest part of this event also was we were launching our spring collection. So that had to we actually ended up launching it the same day as launching it online as the same day as the 7-hour live show, instead of a week after, because we were going to let people who wanted to come to the event get the first look, and then the next week they would shop online if anyone who couldn't make the event. So that was a big shift as well. But I think we navigated pretty well, and even just HUD just coming on in March, which was his first thing, was just COVID and this 7-hour live show, this event that we had to change and all that kind of stuff. So I think we navigated pretty well. Definitely for me, I'm looked at the brighter side of things, and I'm just trying to think a little bit more on how this is going to really, affect everything. But
well, it sounds like COVID hasn't affected your sales though.
No, and I was really worried about that too. When March hit, I was I don't even know how people are gonna are people gonna continue to shop and support? But yeah, a lot, we saw it after that release, and then we did a loungewear release as well, and we just saw people continue wanting to support. And I think it's does everyone wants to support small businesses, especially Indigenous owned businesses? So that was really good to see, and it kind of relieved me a little bit. Just because we'll be okay,
Yeah, I think with a lot of brand owners we've talked to, they've noticed the difference in their online sales as COVID has continued. But I wanted to ask you, how or what advice would you give to an Indigenous youth, a Native youth who may be thinking or looking at what you're doing and how you're doing it, or looking at something they're passionate about, or maybe interested in still going down the same path you're going? What advice would you give to them? As a young person yourself, I'm over here saying nifty, so that ship has sailed for me.
I think a lot of it is, one, just to have passion for whatever anyone is doing. I think passion fuels your projects and everything you want to put out. So I think having passion for what you're doing is definitely a key thing, and then keeping that consistent throughout through everything. And by that consistency, just putting out paintings or items or clothing every now and then. It's interesting how how things navigate differently. I'm just started thinking about, I don't know if I've I guess dabbled in the music industry for a little bit and managed a few artists before, or a couple of years ago, and it's moved from album, producing an album and releasing an album, to releasing singles. So I was just thinking now it's people want full collections in some way, but it's okay to release one-piece shirts or one-piece jewelry or whatever. So I'm shifting those gears as well. I'm thinking about that for our future as well. But yeah, so putting out things when you feel okay with them, and keeping that consistent, and then not slowing down on social media. I think we need to continue to as a brand, we need to continue to push out on social media. So I think putting out stuff on the daily and all that kind of stuff is important. And if it doesn't click, also, if people you just feel you're not getting enough feedback, continue to put stuff out, and then switch things up if you like, and kind of change things around. But I think those are definitely things that I feel helped a lot just to push the brand overall.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. So, Joy, I mean, not only are you running Urban Native Era, but I mean, I noticed you have your own podcast too. You're kind of your hands are in everywhere. Like you just said, you were, managing music at one point. I mean, you're definitely not bored. I'll give you that. So I mean, tell us where like our listeners can find you and like do all and like learn more about Joey Montoya just outside of Urban Native Era and all the passions that you're doing right now.
Yeah. We'll definitely follow at Joey JoeyMontoya on Instagram and everywhere, I believe, even LinkedIn. But yeah, the travel podcast. It's funny because like you're talking about the travel podcast, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, you can just search Joey Montoya. The travel podcast is called like I Know I'm Forgetting Something. But yeah, I just I like dabbling in different things. I'm trying to keep up with all of it. It's like the hard part, but like I said, try to keep consistency. So I'm trying to do better this week and all the other weeks we have to continue to put out stuff. But yeah, I've been doing a lot for the past 8 years, and I just like overall just being involved in these different areas. And I love music, and I was managing a few people, but then when Urban Native Era kind of continued to, grow, I had to kind of like put some other things aside. But I love just being involved and just learning from, what drives people and like seeing how passionate they are and seeing that talent, But
And what can we expect from Urban Native Era in 2021?
A lot of new things, even towards the end of this year. Definitely expect a different type of, direction and into more of like higher fashion. Instead of just releasing t-shirts and stuff like that, screen printed t-shirts. So that's just something that we're working on, and we're really excited about that because that will be launching really soon.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So y'all heard that. Get your coins together.
I'm putting it now. I'm saving it now. Now it's going to be for men and women, right? It's going to be both.
Yes, of course.
All right.
Yeah, please don't forget about Kenrick. And he's got 4 daughters, but he wants things for himself.
That's right. I mean, we've been talking to certain people and their brands, and like, I love them to death, but it's like they're all for ladies or something, and I'm just like, where's the love, man? Like, come on.
So it's good to hear that there'll be something for Kenrick.
I'm excited.
Hopefully he'll have a hat or be able to wear something when we go back and get through the whole shebang here. I just wanted to know what if you mentioned 2 things specifically, passion and consistency. Mm-hmm. Which of those 2 would you think? We're going back to a this or that and completely off script, Kenrick. Sorry. You mentioned passion or consistency, but which do you think is the key, if you will, to success, or are they both the key to success, or no, just passion and consistency? I just take.
Wait, you cut off a little bit.
Passion or consistency? I just want your hot take. Which one is the piece that you want that you would need, particularly as an entrepreneur?
Or do you need both?
You cut off again on all that.
She's too excited. She's messing up her life.
I know. I got a new mic, and so me and this mic are having issues.
Okay, I like how it's like which one is better, passion or consistency?
Which one is better? Which one do you need more? Which one, or is it both? Or just want to hear a little bit more about passion and consistency, specifically as it relates to entrepreneurs like yourself.
Yeah, well, I think passion is definitely like the base, and you can have like, passion for a lot of things, but then I guess overlooking and seeing like where do you want to go and like how you're going to get there. And I think that's where like consistency falls into there, because you can come out and put out, amazing pieces, I feel like, or whatever it is, once a year, but then really like, I guess like how you're staying consistent on you're releasing some items so people kind of see your work, but also like how do you stay consistent like online and sharing what you're doing so people can expect that and can like be like, oh yeah, like I'm gonna tune into the Wrong NDN podcast every week or every 2 weeks, or they know
every
that you're
Monday.
gonna be every Monday. Yeah. Every Monday. So it's so people know and like can kind of be like, oh, I'm gonna go check on that, because we have, even just for Urban Native Air, like there's a lot of people who are like want to see, if they haven't seen it in a while, they'll come back to us and like, oh, what did they release, or what's out now, or they'll come check our page and see what's up. So I think, yeah, passion is the base though. Passion is definitely something that I saw a couple of years ago when I moved back home after traveling a year after college, is what I saw kind of really helped push the brand overall. And then using that passion, because everyone heard of, like, I guess, has burned out, or some people have burned out,
Mm-hmm.
That burnout kind of thing. And I've kind of like broke it down into a few things of like how to not burn out. And one is like being really passionate about it, passionate about like whatever you're doing. And then two is getting sleep. Making sure you're.
What is that? I'm sorry, I have 2 small children. What is sleep? Sleep is a thing?
Yeah. People always say, oh, like, you don't sleep, like you're always working and always doing this. And I'm like, I need to get, sleep. And I sleep in interesting, like, different times now, but I used to go to bed around like 8:30 and then wake up around like 3 or 4 in the morning. And I'd keep that consistent throughout, like for about 4 or 5 months, 6 months. And but passion helped me really, really get to that. And like getting sleep helped me continue to do that without burning out. And then the other third thing is just making sure you're healthy too. So you're eating good and you're working out. Those are the 3 things that I personally, I feel like I've identified as like how to not burn out, making sure you do that. And then also just overall just taking time to yourself when you need it, but yeah. So
there's so much knowledge in that. I am just amazed at your wisdom. Seriously. I have a sarcastic voice, but that was not sarcasm. That's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah. I mean, I'm listening to what you were saying, and for me, like, passion truly shows your authenticity.
Mm-hmm.
I think sometimes you see businesses and you see them pulling out things, and they could be consistent all day, but what you're seeing is like there's no feeling in it. Like, it's really bland, and they're just putting it out for the sake of putting it out. But if you're passionate and you can see that from the creator who's making that, that's where you get that connection, right? And you get that engagement. And that's how I believe that's how you get that sustainability that you guys have had for so long. Because people just don't think you're a gimmick. Like, they actually buy into what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's just like, having our purpose overall, and just like what we're really trying to share with everyone in like the bigger picture, like it's not only about like clothing and like all this types of stuff. There's like a really bigger picture to the brand, what we're trying to really get to. And this is just like just the first level of it, I guess, and like the introduction to folks that know the brand and not, like, don't know what the brand is, and also just that don't know anything about Indigenous cultures. So it's like an introduction piece to that, and from there we're hoping like people stem out into it. But stem out to learn more for themselves, and just about overall, because when it comes down to it, it's also breaks down into education. Education is like a key to so many things, and if we don't have education, it becomes kind of chaotic, as you can kind of see somewhat in the news and stuff.
You said a mouthful there, friend.
Passion is definitely, I wouldn't be able to do anything what I'm doing right now if I didn't have passion. And then I know for myself, like, and I think something I love about running the brand is that I can like, I'm a person that likes to work on different things. And like, if I don't like this, like what I'm doing, like I'll go and like work on this for a little bit. So the brand has really helped me as like an artist and creative kind of like to do these different things when I like feel like I need to kind of go and do some other things, you know. But yeah, saying passionate is definitely it.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have another question, Kenrick?
No, for me,
I'm actually looking at her docket and going, I can't move it anymore.
no, for me, it's just about, you know, I mean, people know how to find you guys. I mean, but for people who don't, I mean, it's urbannativeera.com. I mean, go check them out. They have amazing products for men and women. I mean, and they're so strong in their identity and how they're promoting themselves. And it's just really awesome to see. I mean, I guess for me, because I'm in the design field too, and seeing the way you guys advertise, I think that's what really buys me into it. Other than the fact that you guys have amazing products. I mean, you guys have amazing products, but the fact that the way you do it, and it feels so young, and it feels so vibrant, and it almost feels like you guys are on this path of like, no one can stop you. Like that's the feeling I get. Like that's the vibe I get from you guys. You guys are like, hey, you're either with us or you're not. Follow us, and here we go. You know, like you're going on this amazing journey with your guys' generation, and I see it just
your guys.
It's that.
Kenrick is in that place of I'm an elder now, so you young folkses are doing such a good job. That's literally what he's saying.
But, yeah, I appreciate that. I think like even just studying, it's funny because Hud and I, we met like not through college, but we both majored in advertising. So we kind of like understand each other on that level of like what we want to put out and like just some of the content, like where the content needs to be. So that's like, it's good to hear that. And, you know, I like just saying that just reminds me of like, there's no really framework. There's a framework, right? There's like this general framework I feel like that there is in fashion and all these other things. But I feel like it's kind of an open field, especially for now. It's just like, you know, go and do whatever, like if anyone wants to get into like fashion or all that kind of stuff, like go for it, you know, and like, just, I feel like not too many restrictions, you know, you'll see where things are like, oh, that's not something good you should be doing. But like, then you just switch it up and like, just go for other things, you know. That makes sense. Yeah, like
it absolutely does, because it's the only thing I want to do now in my old age too. The only thing I want to do now is create content, create things, and do fun things with my friends. And you can absolutely become an entrepreneur and just do cool things with your friends. And that sounds exactly, at least from the outside looking in, that's exactly what y'all are doing really cool stuff with your friends, and fueled by passion, matched with consistency, and growing like crazy. I just want to say thank you so much. You're very inspiring, and the brand's inspiring. And if you haven't yet, listeners, please go check out their website. Go pick you up a shirt or two or some new high fashion things. I'm very excited about.
And yeah, I'm really excited about even the podcast direction we're going with, just the Urban Era podcast. Like Hud has been really doing like an awesome job with that. And yeah, if you want to chime in and tune into any other podcasts, just the Urban Era podcast.
Yeah, for sure. We'll definitely put everything on the show notes. We'll make sure that we have urbannativeera.com. We make sure we'll have your podcast on there. What was
Huddleberry and his cooking show he does. That's hilarious.
Yeah. So one of these days, because I'm a big person in the kitchen too, but he does pretty well. Also, he cooks all new things on his cooking show, but it'd be interesting to have a cook-off or something.
So what would be your go-to? What are you cooking, and what how would you compete with Hud?
It's I haven't dabbled too much in like the baking, so baking's out of the question for sure.
Baking's hard, man.
Baking is science. Cooking is art.
Yeah. That's true.
Yep.
That is true.
You know,
I don't know. I think
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
no. Well, I was thinking. I'm just. We don't really cook the same thing, so it'd be interesting to see like something that's like, just give us a recipe and see who cooks it the best, kind of thing. And that could be anything.
Fry bread cook-off.
Thinking.
At that, he makes some good fry bread. So,
I'm thinking we ought to, and we should. I mean, I want in on this because if you haven't seen my Instagram, I am cooking all the time because these hungry Sams, hungry Johnnies are always hungry. But what if we did? You get 3 or 4 ingredients and come up with what you come up with. I think that would be so fun. Kind of like Chopped, but virtual. I'm gonna play around with this. I think we could do this. I think that'd be hilarious and fun. Cool. Well, thanks, my friends.
It's been awesome to have you on our show. Look, I hope we can do it again. I would love to talk to you and HUD together, especially after this new line's coming out that you just teased about. I would love to know more about that, and hopefully we'd be wearing some gear the next time you're on. But we definitely want to have this interview again. And thank you for your time, brother.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for having me.